Welcome back to the channel. I spend around 40% of my time in the Florida area because I love going to Disney World, Universal, and SeaWorld, and that's just been escalated since Natalia has come along because that is what she and Drew love to do most in life. Therefore, of course, we have annual passes to all of them. Disney, Universal, SeaWorld. The problem becomes when you start going there that much, you want to start weighing the benefits of potentially just moving there. And as many of you know, California is becoming more difficult for everything, but especially cars. And cars like the 7. For the most part, I kind of have to keep it indoors because I need to be very careful or in a closed area, like my own driveway, to run it, in fear that it might get impounded. But in Florida, they seem to be much more accommodating of these things, not to mention the fact that they don't have state income tax. So for someone like me, it's an instant increase of like 12.3%, which is enormous. So in looking at this, about 6 months ago, I embarked on an adventure, and that was to potentially look for some investment property to scale up to eventually move to Florida. But as many of you know that are involved in real estate, boy man, that was quite the adventure and very difficult. But I'm happy to report, after making allowances for an all-cash deal, no contingencies, and that really sucked because I wanted to take advantage of the lower mortgage rates that I'm sure many of you are aware of are now going up. It wasn't really an option for me. But for the most part, everything worked out, and I had to get a single property that Natalia wanted because Natalia usually gets what Natalia wants.
Dad, will you please buy into that Florida house?
Why do you want the Florida house, Bandit?
Because I want the water park.
Ah, very good. Good choice. There might be one complication with that. And her criteria? Well, she wanted a property that had a water park for her. So, that is where we ended up. But now the question becomes, do we move there? Do we scale up? I don't know, to be honest with you. I will say this, that I would like to eventually end up in Florida, but Natalia loves her grandparents, so I'm staying here. Of course, I want to spend time with my parents. And also, I've got a rather large conversion real estate project I'm doing for my family, which I can't leave them hanging on. I need to complete. And it seems like it's taking quite some time. So hopefully, I'll keep my fingers crossed I can get that soon. But let's talk about the cars. I don't know what to do about getting them there, opening a new shop. Well, I wouldn't really open a shop because a lot of you know I don't do retail. It's just a shop for myself. So the key would be getting the cars there. I was a little bit concerned because of the truck driver shortage and everything else all of you are hearing about. But it's amazing. I call JP Logistics because of course they're the ones that transport the SV back and forth, my high-end cars that I'm concerned with. They always take the best care of my cars, but it's very, very expensive to the point where even one way from O'Gare and Beverly Hills to here is over $1,000. So getting many cars to Florida was a bit of a concern that the expense might be rather high. But I'm happy to report it seems like inflation and rise in costs, shortage of truck drivers hasn't seemed to affect the transport so much. I was just quoted by Armand that I could take 6 of my cars, my own carrier for them, enclosed, move them from here to Florida for $13,000. That's not that much more than I used to pay. And you know, send 2 trucks, $26,000. I've got at least 12 of my cars over there, which would be plenty. So for those of you that are thinking of doing the relocation, I mean, heck, that's one way to handle it. Obviously then, from what I read, it's a lot easier to deal with registration. It seems like smog is not active in Florida. However, it would be great for those of you like my bud Samuel who lives there, actually does maintenance on the Rise of Resistance, which is one of my favorite rides, to shed some light on this situation. Would I be able to enact cars like the 7 over there? Definitely I'd probably need an exhaust, I would assume, but other than that, it would be quite the adventure. Many benefits to being over Florida, and I'm not trying to sell Florida. It's just ideal for me because I love theme parks. So, in essence, the question becomes what cars? Well, basically, it would probably be 6 cars to start. And boy, man, that is a tough call. So I'd say to start, probably the 7 would go. Would the X go? I don't know. Obviously, I'm not going to be driving that around. What I wanted on the East Coast, maybe, so my bud Ara can come down, because Ara won't go to Disney World to meet with me, but he would probably go to see the X. I just want to say congratulations to my brother JC, who recently just got married to his fiancée Sandy. So congratulations to both of them. Now this ties into my master plan. I'll tell you why. Because he's planning to take a tour across the US, and we had talked about potentially meeting up in Florida, because he has not been to the theme parks over there. Now JC travels everywhere. However, it just wasn't on his hit list. But now that I have property over there, hopefully it won't be occupied because I short-term rental it at the time, then we could potentially meet up at Disney World, which would just be a blast. For those of you that don't know JC, he is one of my closest friends. And the greatest thing about him is that he just lives life to the fullest. Unlike all of us that have children and tons of responsibility, he is the one you want to be with when you want to have a good time. Now, as far as what cars to send, like I said, the 7's on the top of the hit list. The Pro Car, I'm not certain about. But I will say this, being in sunny Florida, I would definitely want to take a convertible. So that would probably mean that the F430 Spider would go. Gets us to number 2. If I was going to send an NSX so I could have a daily exotic driver, I would say that I wouldn't want to send my 91. I would probably send the Type S. Now the Type S is on the way, so it's great. I could just register in Florida, makes it a lot easier. Well, that gets us to 3. 3 more left. Well, Drew's gonna need a vehicle, or potentially a few vehicles, knowing her. So it would be great to send the 997S because she just drives that on the weekend. And for a daily, I'm assuming she's gonna want one of the Cayenne turbos. Now for me, I would rather her drive the silver one because it just has the T-Equipment body kit on it and it's not so difficult to repair. But I know her favorite is the Magnum wide body.
Well, first of all, it's amazing. It's just like the 997, 996, but just massive. And, you know, sometimes bigger is better, right? You know, as every mom, I'm a multitasker. So when I'm chauffeuring Adam around and Natalia around, I like to also open up the panoramic roof and get a nice suntan at the same time. So it works nicely.
So that'll be a debate between she and I. If my count's correct, we're up to 5. That would leave one more. Well, if I already have the 430 over there, then the question would be, should I send the SV? Or potentially the 996 Turbo? The problem is, until my shop and everything's set up, I'll be limited in what I can work on. And it would be more advantageous to have the 996 Turbo over there. I could always swap back and forth if I needed to, seeing that now I know the expenses aren't very high. So probably at this current time, I'll say 996 Turbo. But maybe some of you that live over in Florida have some input for me as to what would be the best choices to send that way. And of course, at current time, like I said, I'll go with the 6. So we'll give that a shot and see how everything goes. But other than that, I think the best thing is to see now, will the 7 even start? The 7's been sitting idle because there's just been so many other projects I've been trying to deal with, and there's so much enthusiasm over the Type S. Any information that I get, I've been trying to pass on. But let's check that out and see how it goes. There you have it, good times. The 7 is as reliable as ever, especially because it's sitting here retired and enjoying the good life. Now racing, yes, totally different story, but at least for now, all is good. What do you think of the new property?
You definitely scored on that one.
Well, at least I'm scoring at something, because that seems to be fairly uncommon these days.
I had a threesome with Heidi Klum and Selma Hayek last night.
But the first carrier will carry 6 cars. So what cars do you think we should take?
Well, that's a tough one. But since we're sitting in the F430, I say this one has to go. I mean, it's like my mobile tanning station.
That is good news for me, because that means at least on one vehicle we agree. So keep going, my dear.
Okay, so I would say the Magnum. That's a definitely yes for me. So
How about the Silver Cayenne Turbo? Because that is a lot easier for you to manage if you happen to, I don't know, run into something or somebody actually damages you.
that's more like it. But no, I think I like the darker charcoal gray, so I'm gonna have to stick with that one.
All right, so that's not going to work out for me in my best interest, but you heard the woman. I guess that's how it goes. Go ahead and continue.
You know, the one that started it all, the first gen NSX.
Yes, I will say this, that the first gen NSX is a no-go. We will send the Type S because it's under warranty. As much as you love the NSX, the problem being that I would have to send window regulators, coils, everything to support that car, because everything that can go wrong usually does go wrong. And I know that my friend JC thinks
The NSX was perfection.
but it's quite old now, and nothing beats Father Time. That is just how it goes. But the Type S is under warranty, and it can be shipped straight there from the dealership.
We have to take the 997S. I mean, it matches the Magnum, and when I'm not toting Natalia or you around, I'm just living it up in my cool ride.
Well, there you go. I figured she would want the 997S to go, and there it is. If my count is right, that only leaves 2 cars, and 1 race car has to go just because it's my name. So if it's the X or the 7, I'm kind of leaning towards the 7. What do you think?
7's a good choice. Are you actually gonna race or drive that around?
You never know. Anything is possible, especially being with this girl. If my count's right, there's only 1 slot left. As I spoke of before, that's either got to be the 996 Turbo or the SV. But in this particular situation, at least on the first run, it would be best to have the 996 Turbo as I get used to those streets over there. Any dips, bumps, potential places where there are no good parking is just a ulcer waiting to happen in the SV. But the 996 Turbo is much more forgiving in that department.
I agree, so long as I get what I want.
That's usually how it goes for me. Drew's a happy camper as long as she gets what she wants.
You're a smart man.
Only now, but in 2 minutes from now, I won't be that smart. Ordinarily, this is the part where I tell you that I'm going to take the Mercy out and enjoy the rest of my weekend. However, seeing that I'm going to be spending a lot more time in Florida, and less time in California, I've opted to take Natalia skiing. But I hope all of you have a great weekend. See you next time. Go ahead, practice your turns. Practice your turns. Go ahead, you got it. Good, back and forth. Back and forth there, girl. A little bit bigger turns. A little bit bigger turn. Good, keep your weight forward. There you go, good job. Watch the ice. You're fine. Good, good job. You got it. Whenever, as soon as you can, go ahead and go fast. Good, perfect.